The desert stretched endlessly under the burning sun. Waves of heat danced above the sand as if the land itself were alive. A small group of researchers moved slowly across the barren ground, their vehicles leaving long trails behind them. They were not searching for oil or treasure. They were looking for something older, something hidden for ages beneath the earth. At the front of the team walked Aaron. He was not the leader of the group, but he had a quiet presence that others noticed. He was calm even in the most difficult conditions, and while many complained about the heat, Arun carried on without a word. His dark eyes often scanned the horizon as if expecting to find something waiting there. The research team had been sent by a university to investigate strange readings detected in this desert. Deep scanners had revealed a large object far below the sand, made of a material that did not match any known natural rock. At first, the team believed it could be remains of an old meteor. Yet the more they studied the readings, the more unusual it became. The shape was too perfect, almost like a crafted structure. After days of digging under the hot sun, the researchers finally uncovered a section of smooth metal. The surface was darker than steel, yet it reflected the light in strange patterns, as if holding colors that did not exist in nature. The air around it felt heavy, as though something unseen pressed down on those who stood close. "Careful," said Mira, the leader of the team. She was older than most of the others and had a sharp mind. "We do not know if this is dangerous." The group worked together, brushing sand away and setting up equipment. The uncovered section revealed a door-like shape, though there were no handles or hinges. Instead, lines of symbols ran across the surface. They were not letters from any known language, not carvings of ancient humans. They seemed alive, glowing faintly as if lit from within. One of the younger researchers whispered, "This is not human work." Nobody disagreed. For hours, they tried different methods to study the object. Machines scanned it, sensors recorded. Energy waves and cameras captured every detail. Yet none of the equipment explained what it was. The symbols did not react to touch or heat, nor did they match any code in the university's database. It seemed impossible to open, yet Aaron stood near it, drawn closer as if by instinct. When he placed his hand near the surface, the lines of symbols brightened. The others gasped, stepping back in surprise. Aaron froze, unsure if he had triggered something dangerous. But nothing harmful happened. Instead, the shapes rearranged themselves before everyone's eyes, forming a spiral pattern that glowed like fire under glass. Mira stared at him. "Aaron, what did you do?" "I do not know," he answered quietly. His voice was calm, though his heart raced. He had felt a strange warmth flow through his hand, almost like the surface had recognized him. The team tried to repeat the effect, but when others placed their hands near the surface, nothing changed. Only when Aaron approached again did the symbols shift, glowing brighter than before. The spiral extended outward until the entire door-like shape shimmered with light. The ground trembled softly, and a faint hum filled the air. That night, around their camp, the team spoke in hushed voices. Some believed it was a piece of alien technology. Others thought it might be the remains of an ancient human civilization long forgotten. Arun said little, but his mind was filled with questions. Why did the object respond to him alone? Why did it feel as though it was waiting for him? In his dreams that night, Aaron saw visions of distant places. Cities with towers of crystal stretched beneath alien skies. Stars shifted above him in unfamiliar constellations. He heard voices speaking in a language he did not know, yet somehow he understood their meaning. They whispered of a journey, of someone who would awaken the light. When he woke, his body was covered in sweat, and his chest felt heavy with a sense of purpose he could not explain. The next morning, the team continued their work. Word of the discovery had already reached the university, and officials were preparing to send more specialists. Yet the scientists on site knew this was bigger than any academic study. They felt as though they had touched something far older than humanity itself. Mira noticed Aaron's silence. "You look troubled," she said. Aaron shook his head. "I do not understand why it reacts to me. I am nobody special." "Sometimes history chooses its own path," she replied softly. By the third day, they managed to uncover more of the structure. It was not just a door, but part of a larger object buried deep in the earth. It curved like the hull of a great ship or perhaps a temple. The glowing symbols now stretched further, forming patterns like maps of stars. As Aaron stood before the strange object once more, he felt the same warmth calling to him. For a moment he wondered if this was a mistake, if touching it again might release something the world was not ready for. Yet something deep inside urged him forward. When his hand touched the glowing spiral, the desert was filled with a burst of light. The hum became a strong vibration, shaking the ground beneath their feet. The sand shifted as if the earth itself moved in response. The other researchers cried out in fear, but Aaron remained still, his hand pressed to the surface. The light spread outward across the structure, racing along hidden lines until the entire buried object pulsed with a rhythm like a heartbeat. In that instant, Aaron felt a voice inside his mind, not in words, but in feelings. It spoke of waiting, of a promise made long ago, of a savior to come. When the light faded, silence returned. The team stood staring at Aaron, their faces pale with awe and fear. Mira whispered, "This is not just discovery. This is the beginning of something far greater." Aaron pulled his hand back slowly. He did not speak, but in his heart he knew his life would never be the same. The desert had given them more than an artifact. It had given them a question that reached beyond Earth itself. The news of the desert discovery spread quickly across the world. At first, only scientists and officials knew about it, but within days whispers reached the public. Photographs of the glowing structure leaked online, showing the strange symbols that no one could read. Some believed it was a hoax, others thought it was proof of alien life. For the first time in years, the entire world focused on one mystery. Aaron tried to stay calm, but every day the weight on his shoulders grew heavier. The artifact had chosen him in a way no one understood. He did not want to be special. He wanted to be a simple researcher, not the center of a storm. Yet wherever he went, eyes followed him. People wanted answers he could not give. The team continued their work, but soon governments became involved. Soldiers arrived to secure the site. Powerful leaders demanded access to the artifact, claiming it was now a matter of global security. Some wanted to use it as a weapon, others as a tool of power. The peaceful research camp became a guarded base, filled with tension and distrust. Then the sky changed. It began one morning as Aaron stood near the artifact, still buried under sand, though glowing faintly as if alive. He felt a deep pull in his chest, the same strange energy that had guided him before. He looked upward without knowing why, and at that moment, he saw them. High above the earth, bright lights appeared, moving across the blue sky in perfect formation. At first, people thought they were meteors, but they did not burn away. They slowed, shining like stars in daylight, then shaped themselves into vast ships. Their surfaces reflected the sun, and their outlines looked unlike any human craft. Alarms sounded across the base. Soldiers rushed to their posts, pointing weapons toward the heavens. Scientists and workers ran outside, staring in shock and fear. Aaron stood still, unable to look away. He felt as if the moment from his dreams had arrived. The ships did not attack. They moved into orbit, hovering like silent guardians. Then a sound filled the airwaves, reaching every radio, television, and device across the planet. A single voice spoke in a language no human had ever heard, yet strangely, everyone understood. "Is the Savior among you?" The words echoed across nations, across cities and homes. The world froze. Leaders demanded explanations. People panicked, fearing invasion. Yet the voice repeated calmly, "Is the Savior among you?" At the desert site, the soldiers looked to Mira, the leader of the research team. She was pale but strong. "Respond," she told the communication officers. "Ask who they are." The officers sent messages, but the ships ignored most signals. Only when Aaron stepped near the artifact did the symbols glow again, and the voice returned, clearer and stronger. "We are the Alari," the voice said. "We have searched for ages. The prophecy speaks of a being not of our blood who would rise in the time of darkness. Tell us, is the Savior here?" The soldiers muttered in confusion. Some thought it was a trick. Others wanted to prepare for war. But Mira watched Aaron closely. She saw how the artifact always reacted to him, how the voice grew stronger when he was near. Her eyes filled with unease. Aaron shook his head, whispering, "I am not a savior. I do not even know what they want." The world outside descended into chaos. Cities held protests, demanding leaders reveal the truth. Religious groups claimed the prophecy belonged to them. Politicians argued over whether the Alari were friends or enemies. Meanwhile, the ships remained in orbit, silent except for their question. Arun's dreams grew stronger. Every night he saw visions of the Alari, tall beings with silver eyes standing beneath glowing skies. They spoke to him without words, showing him a star map leading to a place called the Sanctuary. Each time he woke, he felt more certain the artifact was guiding him there. One evening, as the desert wind blew across the base, Mira called him aside. "Aaron, I believe they are waiting for you. The artifact answers only to you. The Alari repeat their question only when you are near. Whatever this prophecy is, it seems tied to you." Aaron frowned. "But I am not a leader. I am not chosen. I am just human." Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Perhaps that is why the prophecy speaks of you. Sometimes the one who does not seek power is the one most trusted to hold it." The next day, one of the Alari ships descended. It did not land, but hovered above the desert, casting a great shadow. A beam of light shot downward, and within the glow stood figures unlike any human. They were tall, slender, their skin pale, with a faint shimmer. Their eyes glowed softly like stars. The air seemed to bend around them as if they carried the weight of the cosmos. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Mira shouted for calm. The Alari did not act with violence. They stepped forward and spoke in unison. "We have come for the one who awakens the light." All eyes turned to Aaron. He felt his breath catch. He wanted to step back, to vanish into the crowd, but the artifact behind him blazed with radiant light. It pulsed like a heartbeat, answering the presence of the aliens. The Alari bowed their heads slightly. "Is this our savior?" they asked. Again their voices filled with hope and fear. Aaron's hands trembled. He looked at Mira, then at the others. None spoke. The choice seemed to rest on him alone. He whispered, barely audible, "I do not know if I am who you seek." Yet the artifact answered for him. The glowing spiral extended outward, releasing a beam of light into the sky, connecting Earth to the hovering ship above. The entire base shook with power, and the Alari's eyes shone brighter. One of them stepped forward. "The path has opened. The Savior must journey to the sanctuary. There, truth will be revealed," the soldiers shouted in protest, demanding they stop. Leaders across the world sent urgent messages, warning not to trust the aliens. But deep inside, Aaron felt the pull stronger than ever. It was as if the stars themselves called to him. That night, Aaron stood outside the camp, looking up at the glowing ships. The world was afraid, but he felt something different. He felt the weight of destiny pressing down upon him. Whether he wanted it or not, his life had changed. He was no longer just a researcher. The desert base had become a place of both wonder and fear. Soldiers still guarded the area, but their eyes often shifted upward to the glowing ships that hovered above Earth. The Alari had not attacked, yet their presence weighed heavily on everyone. Across the world, people argued endlessly about the meaning of the prophecy. Some believed the aliens brought hope, while others warned of danger. Aaron found himself caught in the center of it all. Wherever he went, cameras followed. Reporters demanded to know if he was truly the savior. Leaders sent messages asking for his loyalty. Even strangers begged him to speak, to explain what was happening. But Aaron had no answers. He had not asked for this role. All he knew was that the artifact responded to him and him alone. One evening, he sat near the artifact, staring at the glowing spiral. It pulsed softly like the beating of a heart. He whispered, "Why me?" His voice was quiet, almost lost in the desert wind. Yet as if in reply, the symbols shifted. Slowly, they formed shapes he had not seen before. The glowing lines connected into a pattern, stretching across the surface like a map of stars. Mira rushed over when she saw the change. Her eyes widened as she studied the pattern. "These are not random shapes. Aaron, this is a star map." The others gathered quickly, pointing out constellations and systems. Though the symbols were alien, the arrangement matched known positions of stars in the galaxy. At the center of the map glowed a single mark brighter than the rest. The Alari called it the Sanctuary. The Alari appeared again that night, stepping from their beam of light with the same calm presence as before. They looked at Arun with unblinking silver eyes. One spoke in a voice that echoed inside every ear. "The path is shown. Only the one chosen can walk it. The Savior must come with us." Fear rippled through the humans watching. Soldiers tightened, their grips on weapons though they dared not fire. Mira turned to Aaron. "This is your choice," she said softly. Aaron felt his chest tighten. He did not want to leave Earth. He had a family, a life of simple study, not adventure among stars. Yet when he looked at the map glowing before him, he felt a pull stronger than fear. The artifact was not just guiding him, it was calling him. "I will go," he said, his voice steady, though his hands trembled. The Alari bowed their heads in respect. The soldiers shouted in protest, but Mira silenced them. She knew this was larger than any one nation. This was the beginning of something, far beyond Earth. Within days, Aaron was prepared for the journey. The Alari explained that their ship could cross great distances through the ancient stargates, but the gates had been closed for centuries. Only the Savior's presence could awaken them again. Aaron did not fully understand, but he felt the truth in their words. When the day came, Aaron stood before the artifact one last time. He placed his hand on the glowing spiral. It pulsed brightly, then dimmed, as if saying farewell. Mira stood beside him. "Remember, you are not alone," she said. "The whole of Earth walks with you." The Ellery's beam of light surrounded him. For a moment, the desert disappeared, replaced by a rush of colors and sounds unlike anything he had known. Then he stood aboard their ship, surrounded by walls that shimmered like liquid glass. The air smelled clean, almost sweet. He felt light, as though the ship itself carried him gently. The Alari moved gracefully, their steps silent, their eyes calm. They led him to a wide chamber filled with floating shapes of light. It was their star chart, alive and shifting, showing countless systems and worlds. The glowing lines stretched outward like rivers of energy, and at the center was the same mark he had seen on the artifact. "This is the sanctuary," one of the Alari said. "Our ancient capital. It has slept for thousands of years. Without the Savior, it cannot awaken." Arun studied the map, feeling the same pull he had felt in the desert. His hand lifted without thinking, and as he touched the glowing mark, the entire chart shifted. Pathways of light stretched open, revealing a route through the stars. The Alari bowed deeply, their voices filled with awe. "The way is open." For the first time, Aaron felt the weight of the prophecy. He was not simply reacting to strange events. He was guiding them, even without meaning to. The ship responded to him as if it had been waiting for him alone. The journey began. The ship rose above Earth, passing beyond the atmosphere. Arun looked through a clear wall, watching the blue planet grow smaller beneath him. His heart ached with both fear and wonder. He whispered, "Goodbye." Then the ship entered the star gate. A tunnel of light swallowed them, and stars stretched like rivers around him. Aaron felt both tiny and vast, as though he was part of the galaxy itself. When the ship emerged, they were far from Earth, surrounded by constellations he had only seen in books. The Alari guided him through their vessel. He saw chambers filled with crystals that pulsed like living hearts, corridors lined with flowing light, and quiet rooms where the Alari seemed to meditate. They spoke little, but their actions showed respect. They treated him not as a prisoner, but as someone sacred. Still, doubt remained in his heart. Alone in his chamber, Aaron whispered to himself, "I am not a savior. I am just a man." Yet the artifact's warmth lingered in his chest, reminding him that his path had already begun. On the third day of travel, the ship slowed near a collapsed stargate. Its vast rings drifted broken in space, silent for ages. The Alari explained, "This gate has been dead for centuries, but with you it may live again." Arun placed his hand on a glowing console. Light surged from the ship, racing across the broken rings. One by one, the shattered pieces reformed, pulled together by unseen energy. The gate blazed to life, forming a bright circle that lit the darkness of space. The Alari bowed again, their voices filled with reverence. "The prophecy lives. The Savior restores the light." Aaron stared at the shining gate, his heart pounding. He had not meant to do it. He had only followed the pull inside him. Yet now, the galaxy itself seemed to awaken at his touch. He realized then that his journey was no longer about choice. It was about destiny. And though fear still lingered, so too did a spark of courage. The Alari ship moved smoothly through the glowing circle of the restored gate. Aaron stood near the wide viewing wall, his eyes fixed on the light around them. It felt like sailing through a river made of stars. Every second filled him with wonder and fear. He had never dreamed of leaving Earth. Yet here he was, traveling across the galaxy with beings older than human history. The Alari remained calm as always, their tall forms moving gracefully through the shining corridors. They rarely spoke unless to explain something to Arun. When they did, their voices carried a tone of quiet respect. To them, Aaron was not just a traveler. He was the one foretold in their prophecy. Aaron did not know how to accept that. He remembered his life on Earth, simple and ordinary. He had studied history and artifacts, not prophecy or power. He often thought of Mira and the team back in the desert, wondering what they were doing now. Were they watching the sky, hoping for his safe return, or were they afraid of what he might become? As the ship crossed into a new sector of space, Arun noticed how the vessel itself seemed alive. Its walls shimmered as though flowing with energy. Crystals pulsed with light, glowing brighter when he walked near them. Once, when he placed his hand on a console out of curiosity, the entire chamber lit up with star maps and strange symbols. The Alari stared in silence, bowing their heads. Aaron pulled back quickly, embarrassed. "I did not mean to," he said. One of the Alari answered gently. "You do not need to mean it. The ship recognizes you. It has been waiting." At times, Arun asked questions about the prophecy, but the Alari never gave him full answers. They said only that long ago their people built wonders across the galaxy, powered by what they called the heart of the stars. But when the heart fell silent, their empire collapsed. Worlds were lost, and many races vanished. In their darkest days, their leaders wrote of a savior who would come, not of Alari blood, but of another people. That savior would awaken the heart again and bring light back to the galaxy. Aaron struggled with the idea. "Why me?" he asked one evening. "I am just human. I do not have special power. I do not even believe in destiny." The Alari looked at him with calm silver eyes. "The stars believe," they said simply. During the journey, Aaron had more dreams. In them, he walked through alien ruins filled with tall statues and glowing rivers of energy. He saw gates lighting across the galaxy one by one. He heard voices calling him by name, though he had never told the Alari who he truly was. When he woke, the images stayed with him as if burned into his mind. On the 7th day, the ship entered a system with twin suns. Between them floated another, ancient gate, silent and broken. Aaron felt the familiar pull in his chest. Without needing to be asked, he stepped forward and touched the console. The ship answered him instantly. A wave of light shot out, spreading across the broken structure. Pieces shifted, reconnected, and the gate burst alive with radiant energy. The Alari bowed again. "The Savior restores the path," they said in one voice. Aaron turned away, unsettled. He did not feel like a savior. He felt like someone being pushed by forces he did not understand. Yet deep inside, part of him knew there was no turning back. The path was open, and it was his to walk. The journey continued through gate after gate. Each time, Aaron awakened them with a single touch, and each time he felt the strange energy inside him grow stronger. His body did not change, but his spirit felt heavier, as if carrying not just his own fate, but the fate of many. One night, as he rested in his chamber, an Alari came to him. This one was different, younger than the others, with softer eyes. "You are troubled," the Alari said. Aaron nodded. "I never asked for this. Everyone expects me to save them. But I do not even know if I can save myself." The young Alari sat across from him. "Do you think saviors are born knowing who they are? No. They are ordinary until the moment comes when they must choose. You may not believe you are ready, but the galaxy believes." Aaron thought about those words long after the Alari left. Perhaps a savior was not someone who sought greatness, but someone who faced a choice when it mattered most. The ship, finally, approached the system of the sanctuary. From the viewing wall, Arun saw a world broken and silent. Its surface was scarred with cracks that glowed faintly, as if fire still lived beneath its crust. Towers stood in ruins, their tops crumbled, their bases buried in dust. Yet even in ruin, the planet looked majestic, a reminder of a time when the Alari ruled the stars. The Alari fell to their knees in silence, their silver eyes filled with sorrow. "This was our home," one whispered, "the sanctuary of light." Aaron pressed his hand against the wall, staring down at the ruined world. His heart pounded. The pull he had felt since touching the artifact in the desert now grew stronger than ever. He knew without being told that the heart of the stars lay somewhere on that world, waiting for him. The Alari turned to him. "Here your trial begins. Here the prophecy will be fulfilled." or all will remain lost. Aaron swallowed hard. He thought again of Earth, of Mira, of the desert sun. He thought of his family, of his old life, of the quiet days when the world had felt small and safe. That life was gone now. Ahead of him lay something vast and terrifying. Yet when he looked at the ruined planet below, he felt something else too. Not only fear, but also determination. Perhaps he was not chosen by chance. Perhaps humanity itself had been chosen, through him, to prove something to the stars. The ship began its descent toward the sanctuary. Aaron stood tall, though his hands shook at his sides. He whispered to himself, "I will face whatever waits." The Alari ship descended slowly through the broken skies of the sanctuary. From above, Arun could see vast scars across the land. Great cities of stone and crystal lay in ruins, their towers fallen, their streets buried under centuries of dust. The air glowed faintly with energy, like an ember that refused to die. It was a world of silence and memory, holding secrets older than humanity itself. The Alari bowed their heads as the ship touched down near the remains of a massive structure. Its walls stretched upward, like the bones of a giant, shattered yet still proud. "This is the Hall of Stars," one of them said softly. "Here, the heart waits." Aaron stepped outside, his boots crunching on cracked stone. The wind carried the faint hum of unseen power, a sound that seemed to vibrate inside his chest. He looked around at the ruins and felt the same pull that had guided him since the desert. The artifact's warmth glowed faintly from within his bag, as if urging him forward. The Alari did not walk with him. Instead, they stopped at the entrance of the hall. Their silver eyes were full of reverence and caution. "Only the Savior may enter," they said. "Within are the trials left by our ancestors. They will test not your strength, but your spirit. If you fail, the heart will remain silent forever." Aaron's throat felt dry. He was just one man. He had never asked for this. Yet as he looked into the shadows of the ruined hall, he felt he could not turn back. Earth, the Alari, and perhaps the galaxy itself waited for what he would do. He stepped inside. The Hall of Stars stretched endlessly. Its walls glimmered faintly, covered with ancient symbols. Broken pillars rose toward a high ceiling, where fragments of crystal still caught and reflected faint light. The air was heavy, yet alive with energy. As Aaron walked, the ground shifted beneath his feet. The symbols along the walls lit one by one, forming a path of light. He followed it deeper into the hall, his heartbeat echoing in his ears. Then the path ended at a great door, carved with spirals that matched the artifact he carried. When he touched the door, it opened with a low hum, revealing a wide chamber. At the center floated a sphere of pure light, pulsing gently. Aaron stepped closer, but before he could reach it, the chamber darkened. The light split into 3 forms, each taking shape before him. The first form spoke with a deep voice. "This is the trial of courage. Do you fear death, or do you walk forward despite?" Before Aaron appeared visions of fire and shadow. He saw armies of unknown creatures charging, their weapons raised. He felt the terror of being outnumbered, of standing alone. His legs trembled, but he remembered his steps through the desert, his nights staring at the stars, and the moment he left Earth behind. He had always been afraid, but still he had moved forward. "I am afraid," he admitted aloud, "but I will go on." The vision faded, and the first form bowed before vanishing. The second form rose, speaking with a gentle voice. "This is the trial of wisdom. Do you seek power for yourself, or do you seek it for others?" A new vision surrounded him. He stood in a hall of leaders, each offering him crowns, wealth, and armies. "Take these," they said. "Rule the stars. Command our people, and all will kneel." For a moment, the temptation pulled at him, but he remembered the Alari's quiet respect. Mira's trust back on Earth, and the faces of those who looked to him for hope. He shook his head. I do not want power. I want peace for all. The crowns and treasures vanished, and the second form bowed before fading away. The third form appeared, its voice neither gentle nor harsh, but calm. This is the trial of compassion. Can you give without return, even if it costs you everything? The vision shifted again. Aaron saw Earth, bright and blue, but threatened by fire from the skies. At the same time, he saw the sanctuary, broken and silent, needing his choice. A voice whispered, "Save your own people, and Earth will live, but the galaxy will die. Save the Alari, and Earth may be lost." The weight crushed him. His heart ached at the thought of his family, his friends, Mira, and all of Earth. Yet he remembered the words of the young Alari. A savior does not seek greatness. He simply chooses when the moment comes. Aaron dropped to his knees. I will not choose one people over another. I will give to all, even if it costs me everything. If the heart has power, let it be for unity, not for division. The vision shattered like glass. The chamber filled with blinding light. The three forms bowed and vanished into the sphere at the center. The sphere expanded, glowing brighter, filling the hall with waves of energy. Aaron felt the warmth surge through him. The artifact in his bag leapt into the air, fusing with the sphere. Symbols raced across the walls, alive with light. The ruins shook as the ancient power awakened. Outside, the Alari watched as the Hall of Stars blazed with light for the first time in ages. Their eyes widened in awe. The Savior has passed the trials, they whispered. Inside, Aaron stood before, the now living heart of the stars. Its light bathed him, not as a weapon, but as a gift. He felt its energy fill him, not to make him ruler, but to remind him of his choice. The heart was not only for the Alari, it was for all who sought peace. Arun bowed his head. I am not a savior, I am just a man. But if I can give hope, I will. The heart pulsed in reply, as if it had been waiting for those very words. When Aaron stepped out of the hall, the Alari knelt in silence. For them, the prophecy was fulfilled. For Aaron, the journey had only just begun. The Hall of Stars pulsed with a light that seemed alive. Aaron stood in its center, feeling the warmth of the heart of the stars spread through him. It was unlike anything he had ever known. The energy was powerful, yet gentle, as if the universe itself were speaking to him. The artifact he had carried from Earth had fused with the heart, glowing brighter than the sun above. Outside, the Alari watched in awe. Their tall forms shone softly in the light of the hall. They whispered among themselves, but Aaron could not hear the words. All he felt was the immense weight of responsibility pressing on his heart. The trials had ended, but now the true moment had arrived. The heart projected visions around Aaron. He saw worlds that had long been lost, their civilizations crumbled and forgotten. He saw entire galaxies in darkness, their stars dimmed by centuries of neglect. He realized that his choice in the Hall of Stars had not only awakened the heart, but had connected him to the life of countless planets. The responsibility was immense, yet it filled him with clarity. Arun stepped forward, reaching toward the glowing core of the heart. As he touched it, energy surged through his body. It was as if every atom within him vibrated with light. He saw flashes of alien cities, rivers of crystal, forests that glowed with unknown energy, and beings of all shapes and sizes looking toward him with hope. The heart whispered to him, not in words but in feeling. This is your choice. The light can be shared, or it can be hidden. He remembered the vision from the trial of compassion. Choosing only one people over another had nearly crushed him. He understood now that the heart's purpose was unity, not division. Its energy was meant to heal, to awaken life across the galaxy, and to give hope to all who sought it. Arun closed his eyes and concentrated. "I will share this gift," he whispered, "not for me, not for one people, but for all who seek peace." The heart responded instantly. Waves of energy shot outward, flowing through the hall, then out into space. The Alari watched as the light traveled faster than the speed of their ships, connecting to the broken stargates scattered across the galaxy. One by one, the gates sparked to life, glowing with the power of the heart. Long dormant worlds stirred as the light reached them. Rivers that had been dry began to flow. Crystals in ancient cities lit up. Plants unfurled their leaves as if awakening. From centuries of sleep, Aaron felt the energy expand beyond the Hall of Stars, carrying his choice to every corner of the galaxy. It was overwhelming, yet it filled him with peace. He understood now that the heart had chosen him not because he was special, but because he was willing to care beyond himself. Suddenly, the ground beneath the hall shook. The ruins of the sanctuary trembled, as if waking from a long slumber. Cracked. Towers repaired themselves slowly, stone flowing and rejoining as if time were folding backward. The Alari gasped in amazement. "It is alive again," one said. "The prophecy is fulfilled." The light extended outward into space, forming threads of energy that connected to distant star systems. Aaron could see the paths of the light reaching. Hidden worlds, worlds that had long been lost to silence and darkness. He realized that civilizations forgotten by time were now stirring, drawn to the heart and the promise it represented. For a moment, Aaron felt small, just one human among countless beings and stars. But then, he understood that the heart did not measure by size or strength. It measured by choice, by compassion, by courage. His simple decision to act for the good of all had rippled across the galaxy, touching life in ways he could not fully see. The Alari approached him. "You have awakened what we thought lost forever," one said softly. "Our people, our history, our hope, all live again because of you." Aaron shook his head. "I am not a hero. I only chose what was right. The heart did the rest." But even as he spoke, he felt the truth of it. The heart had amplified his choice, yes, but it had needed his courage, his wisdom, and his compassion. Without him, its light would have remained dormant. He realized that humans, though young among the stars, could play a role no other species could. The hall began to change. The energy that had filled it seemed to take shape, forming paths and structures that Arun recognized from his dreams. He walked along corridors of light, seeing glimpses of the cities he had visited in visions, entire civilizations restored in miniature, connected by the energy of the heart. He felt the heartbeat of the galaxy, a rhythm of life that pulsed in harmony with his own. Suddenly, the artifact in his bag vibrated softly. Aaron lifted it, and the light from the heart flowed into it, forming a glowing bridge between the artifact and the stars outside. The artifact had been his connection to Earth, and now it served as a beacon, linking his home planet to the galaxy. He understood that humanity itself was now part of a greater story, not just observers, but participants in the awakening of the stars. The Alari gathered around him, bowing in respect. "You have fulfilled the prophecy, yet your journey does not end here. The heart will guide you, but the galaxy will need your wisdom, your courage, and your care." Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of their words. He looked out across the glowing gates, at the distant worlds beginning to stir. He saw the Alari's civilization renewed, and he felt a spark of hope for humanity as well. If humans could reach out with the same courage and compassion, perhaps the galaxy could thrive in ways even he could not imagine. Hours passed, though time felt different in the hall. The energy of the heart flowed continuously, But Arun did not feel tired. Instead, he felt clarity. He knew the choices ahead would not be easy. He would face challenges from those who sought power, and he would need to guide others who feared change. But for the first time, he understood that he could face them, not as a hero or savior, but as someone willing to act with care for the greater good. Finally, the light began to settle. The hall was calm, filled with a soft glow instead of the overwhelming brilliance of before. Arun lowered his hand from the heart, feeling its energy still within him. He turned to the Ilari. "The heart is awake," he said simply. "Now it is time to guide it together." The Ilari smiled, their silver eyes bright with gratitude. "The galaxy will remember this moment forever," one said. Arun looked toward the stars outside the hall. The gates of the sanctuary glowed like constellations, connecting forgotten worlds. He felt a new understanding, a sense of purpose that went beyond himself. He was still human, still ordinary in many ways, yet through his choices he had become part of something extraordinary. The heart of the stars pulsed gently within the sanctuary. Arun stood before it, feeling its energy flow through every fiber of his being. The galaxy was alive in ways he could now perceive. He could feel distant worlds stirring, long dormant, cities lighting up and civilizations beginning to awaken. The responsibility he had carried from Earth had not ended, it had transformed into a promise. The Ilari moved beside him with calm reverence. Their people, once broken and scattered, now had a chance to rebuild. Yet Arun understood that his role was not to command or lead, but to guide, to inspire action through wisdom and care. Power was meaningless without purpose. The heart had shown him that. Arun walked through the sanctuary. Once shattered towers now glowed softly with energy. Corridors that had been silent for centuries thrummed with life. The Hall of Stars, where he had completed his trials, seemed to breathe with quiet energy, as if the very structure was alive. The Ilari followed closely, showing him spaces of learning, chambers of memory, and galleries that held the history of their civilization. "You have done more than awaken the heart," one of the Ilari said softly. "You have reminded us of what it means to care. Our people have waited for this moment for generations, but you have given it meaning, not through force, but through choice." Arun nodded. He thought of Earth, of Mira, and of all those who had watched him step into the unknown. He thought of the humans who had sent him off without knowing whether he would return. Their hope had traveled with him, guiding him silently. He realized that heroism was not about glory or recognition, but about willingness to act when it mattered most. The artifact he had carried from Earth still glowed in his hands. It had been his connection to his world, but now it also served as a bridge between Earth and the awakened galaxy. Arun felt the flow of energy linking distant planets, the heart's light moving through each stargate, connecting civilizations that had never known one another. Humanity had become part of a much larger story, and he had been the first to open the path. The Ilari led him to a balcony that overlooked the entire sanctuary. From there, Arun could see vast fields of glowing energy spreading across the planet. Cities long buried beneath rubble now shimmered with soft light. Rivers of crystal ran through ancient streets, carrying energy to every corner. The heart's pulse was steady and calm, reflecting the harmony he had helped restore. "You will not be alone," the Ilari said. "Others will come to learn, to guide, to share this responsibility. But your actions have begun a new era. You have given life to what was lost." Arun looked toward the stars. He thought about the humans still on Earth, and he realized how fragile and precious life was. The choices of one person could ripple through the universe. He understood that the heart's awakening was not just about the Ilari or their prophecy, but about hope itself, the hope that life, no matter how distant or broken, could be restored. For days. Aaron explored the sanctuary with the Alari. They showed him archives filled with knowledge, tools that could restore worlds, and chambers where energy from the heart could be guided and shaped. He learned not to control, but to cooperate. He realized that leadership was about listening, about understanding the needs of many, and about making choices that reflected care rather than dominance. At night, he would stand outside, gazing at the stars, feeling the pulse of the heart through the planet. He remembered his life on Earth and knew that he would never forget where he came from. Humanity had given him courage, and he would carry their legacy forward among the stars. One morning, as the twin suns of the sanctuary rose above the horizon, the Alari gathered for a ceremony. They did not kneel or bow in submission. Instead, they stood together with Aaron, honoring the unity that his choices had brought. They called it the Day of Awakening, a celebration of life restored, of civilizations renewed, and of hope rekindled. Aaron stepped forward and spoke. "I am not a hero," he said. "I am human, and humans have always hoped, even when the odds were against them. The heart has awakened because we all care. It is not mine alone. It belongs to every being willing to choose compassion over fear, courage over hesitation, and wisdom over greed." The Alari listened, and for the first time, Aaron felt truly seen. Not as a prophecy fulfilled, but as someone who had acted with the values that connected all life. The heart pulsed brighter, as if acknowledging his words, sending waves of light across the sanctuary and into the galaxy. From Earth, distant humans could feel the energy subtly, though they did not understand it fully. Farmers, scientists, children, and elders paused for a moment as a quiet warmth brushed across the planet. Birds paused in flight, winds shifted, and the skies seemed brighter. The universe had acknowledged their hope through Aaron. Days turned into weeks, and Aaron began guiding the Alari in rebuilding their civilization. They repaired cities, restored energy networks, and reconnected with distant star systems. The heart became a source not of power, but of guidance, allowing the Alari to flourish without domination. Aaron remained a teacher, a listener, and a bridge. The humans back on Earth never fully knew the extent of what had happened, yet the world began to change. News of strange energy patterns, restored stargates, and renewed hope reached scientists and leaders. They marveled at unexplained phenomena, unaware that one human had carried the light of the stars to awaken life across the galaxy. Aaron often thought of Mira and his colleagues. He hoped they were proud. He thought of the desert where it had all begun, of the artifact buried beneath the sand, and of the dreams that had guided him. Every memory reminded him that greatness was not about seeking it, but about answering the call when it appeared. Years passed, and the sanctuary flourished. Aaron continued to travel between worlds, guiding civilizations, mediating conflicts, and spreading the values that had awakened the heart. The Alari honored him not as a master, but as a companion, someone who had bridged the gap between species and reminded them of what life truly meant. And then, one evening, Aaron stood once more on the balcony, gazing at the stars. He saw the distant lights of Earth twinkling among countless suns. He smiled, feeling the pulse of the heart in every world he could see. The journey that had begun with fear and doubt had led him to understanding and unity. Aaron whispered to himself, "The heart is alive and so is hope. This is our legacy." The stars pulsed in response, quiet and steady. Aaron felt the weight of his journey, yet also the peace that came from fulfilling a purpose greater than himself. Humanity had touched the stars. The Alari had been restored, and the galaxy had been awakened. For Aaron, the future was no longer uncertain. He had become part of something eternal. His actions, guided by courage, wisdom, and compassion, would echo across time and space. And as long as beings chose to care for one another, the light of the heart would never fade.